Welcome to Millennium Daytime Bulletin. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi and you're watching Millennium News Channel 24. Today I'm bringing you the latest updates from around the world. Let's begin with today's top headlines. Ukraine allies pledged $21 billion in fresh military aid. China raises tariff on United States good to 125% as trade war worsens. Ukraine's European allies say Russian aggression is pushing peace out of reach as United States envoy meets Putin. India geared up for very high degree of urgency, S. Jaishankar on United States. Prime Minister Modi awards GI certificates to 21 products, Banarasi Tabla, Bharwan Mirch on the list. (6,700) Sikh pilgrims in Pakistan for Baisakhi, highest in 50 years. United States judge rules Mahmoud Khalil can be deported for his views. Market downturn spurs surge in demand for safe investments. Justin Rose holds lead after thrilling first round of the Masters. Mohamed Salah to stay at Liverpool beyond this season after signing 2-year contract. Now let's look at the details. Ukraine's European allies have pledged $21 billion in a new tranche of military support for the Kyiv in what they described as a critical year of the war. More than half of this, that is the $11 billion in aid for over 4 years, is coming from Germany. British Defence Minister John Healey also said that the pledges would be sending strong signal to the Moscow. The announcement comes as members of the Ukraine Defence Contact Group met at the NATO's headquarters in Brussels to pledge air defences, missile and other gear as the Europeans sought to fill the gap left by the changed priorities of the United States under Donald Trump. Also, the Europe's defense minister said there are no signs of the end of the war. Also, despite Trump's promise of the ceasefire, support announced on Friday also includes a $450 million package from the United Kingdom and Norway to fund radar systems, anti-tank mines, vehicle repair and hundreds and thousands of drones for Ukraine. Also, the money is part of the British pledge of $4.5 billion made earlier this year. Air defense was a priority in Brussels. Healey said that Russian forces had dropped 10,000 glide bombs on Ukraine in the first 3 months of the year, and as well as of launching 100 one-way attack drones a day. In our calculation, 70 to 80% of the battlefield casualties are now caused and inflicted by drones, the United Kingdom Defense Secretary said. The German aid package meanwhile has a significant focus on artillery. Boris also said that Germany would send 1 lakh rounds of artillery ammunition, 25 infantry fighting vehicles, 15 battle tanks, 100 ground surveillance radar and 120 man portable air defense system. Berlin will also send 4 IRIS-T air defense system with 300 missiles to Kyiv. Also, Ukraine needs a strong military and only they can negotiate the process and lead to a just and a lasting peace, the German defense minister told the reporters in Brussels. Also, the defense minister from 50 nations gathered in Brussels for the 27th gathering of the UDGG. That also the United States and the United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth joined the meeting remotely, telling allies that the America appreciated their work. Also, Pistorius said that Hegseth's decision was a matter of schedules also rather than the priorities, and that the most important fact was that he took that part. Also, the other leaders also joined remotely, including the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Kyiv Defense Minister Rustem Umerov also also in the Brussels thanked Europe for taking the lead on the security assistance for his country. China on Friday said that it would raise tariff on United States goods to 125% from 84% currently, hours after the President Xi Jinping urged the European Union to join hands with the Beijing in the reinstating of the unilateral bullying, and also referring to the massive tariff imposed by Donald Trump as insane. Also, the new levy, which will come into effect on Saturday, was announced after Trump this week raised the tariff for China to 145%, further escalating the ongoing trade war between the world's top two countries. Also, the Chinese Finance Ministry said that further action by the United States, Donald Trump, will be ignored because at the current tariff level there are no possibility of a market acceptance of the United States good exported to China. Also, the United States imposition of the round upon round of the abnormally high tariff on China has become a number game with no practical significance in economics, he said. Also, if the United States continue to play the tariff number game, China will ignore it, a spokesperson said. Beijing also said that the United States should bear full responsibility for the global economic turbulence unleashed by the President Trump's tariffs. Also, Washington's levies caused the current world economy, global markets, and the multilateral trading system to suffer serious shocks and severe turbulence, a spokesperson from the Beijing's Commerce Ministry said. Beijing also said that the President Donald Trump decided to freeze the tariff on other countries partly after the pressure from China. The United States President on Wednesday announced a 90-day pause on his sweeping tariff on all the countries barring China. He said that he was raising tariff on Chinese imports, citing lack of respect from Beijing. A previous round of the United States tariff had come into force on Wednesday, hiking up duties on the Chinese imports to 104%. China then responded to the 104% duties, saying that it would raise its tariff on the United States import from 34% to 84% effective from Thursday. Xi Jinping on the United States-China trade war, also Trump's tariff, also saying that the Spanish counterpart Pedro Sanchez in the Beijing and stressed that there are no winners in the tariff wars. Also, the state-run news agency Xinhua said that the Chinese president also warned the European Union it needed to cooperate with China so that the two can ride out of the mounting trade war with Washington. We'll have to see how the issues get resolved. Stay in touch with us. Peace is out of reach for Ukraine due to Russian President Vladimir Putin's ongoing aggression, European defense minister stressed on Friday, even as the United States pushed ahead with the talks with Moscow. Top Trump administration official Steve Witkoff met Friday with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, shaking hands at the very first. Also, the Putin and Witkoff were set to discuss Ukraine, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said ahead of the meeting, which ended 10 o'clock Moscow time, according to the Russian state media TASS. Also, Peskov has referred to the assembly as a good opportunity to convey the Russian position to Trump. A possible Putin that Trump meeting may also have been the agenda, the state news agency RIA Novosti cited Peskov as saying. Also, the painstaking work continues. Naturally, Witkoff, as a special representative of the United States President Donald Trump, will convey something from his president to Putin. Also, Putin will listen to it. The conversation will continue on various aspects of the Ukrainian settlements, Peskov said, stating the media TASS reports. Also, Witkoff, who is Trump's foreign envoy, also met Friday with the Russian negotiators Kirill Dmitriev in the St. Petersburg, according to the RIA Novosti news agency. Dmitry later described those discussions as productive in a post on X on Friday. The United States meeting in the Russia comes as the Ukraine's key allies gathered Friday in Brussels, where the defense minister of the United Kingdom and Germany emphasized that Putin had continued his aggression against both military and civil targets despite claiming to want peace. Also, the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting was co-hosted by the United Kingdom and Germany, with a noticeable absence at the table of the United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who was only attended virtually. Also, the group of roughly 50 nations, which was created by the former U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin during the Biden administration, meets regularly to discuss the bolstering military support for the Ukraine. Given Russia's ongoing aggression against Ukraine, we must concede peace in the Ukraine appears to be out of reach in the immediate future. Also, the German defense minister Boris also said. Also, after the meeting, speaking alongside the Ukrainian and the British ministers, we will ensure that Ukraine continues to benefit from our joint military support. Russia needs to understand that Ukraine is able to go on the fighting and we will support it, added Pistorius. We'll have to see how the issues get resolved. Stay in touch with us. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday said that India is prepared for a high degree of urgency needed to be prepared for the United States, a country which he said has fundamentally changed its approach to engaging with the world and it has consequences across every domain. Speaking at the Carnegie Global Summit, Mr. Jaishankar said that India's trade deals are very challenging at the United States, that is very ambitious and has the global landscape in a very much different way than it was a year ago. This time around, we are certainly geared up for a very high degree of urgency. I mean, we need to see a window. We want to see stuff, so our trade deals are very good. You know, they are really challenging. Also, we are really, when I look ahead to the trade deals, I mean, it's not my direct credit, but we have a lot to do with each other. I mean, these are the people very much on the top of their game, very ambitious about what they want to achieve, he said. Mr. Jaishankar added that just as the United States has a view of India, India too has a view of them. We did 4 years of talking in the first Trump administration, then they have their view of us, and frankly, we have our view of them. The bottom line is that they didn't get that. So, if you look at the European Union, often people say we have been negotiating for 30 years, which is not entirely true because we had a big block of time and nobody was even talking to each other, but they have tended to be very protracted the process of the what was said. Also, Mr. Jaishankar said that the United States-China trade dynamics are influenced by trade as well as technology, and the decisions impelled by China are as consequential as the United States. There are other shifts, and that's the evolution that you can say. It's something which appears, even if it does not, more than an unfolding of the dramatic events and that the advancement of the China, so that it happened in respect, of course, on the trade war. What we see in the many ways is the trade story that has also been the tech story, and it is dramatic moments. DeepSeek was one, he said. He said that both nations are influenced by each other, but I would argue that the changes impelled by the China are so consequential, and as well as the shift in the American position is very vital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi awarded GI, that is the Geographical Indication certificates, to 21 traditional products from the state during his visit to the Varanasi on Friday. Among the newly certified items were the iconic Banarasi Tabla and the Banarasi Bharwan, which also but now officially recognized for their unique regional identity. With a total of 77 GI certified products, Uttar Pradesh currently holds the top position in India. The Kashi region alone accounts for 32 GI tags, also making it a global hub for the GI recognized items. The ceremony of the United States and the Uttar Pradesh government, the collaboration has also heightened the success of the Yogi Adityanath government's flagship product, that is the One District One Product scheme, and the initiative, according to the official statement. Several traditional products from the Varanasi, such as the Shehnai, metal casting craft, mural painting, also the Lal Peda Thandai, Tirangi Barfi, and the Koronda from the Chera Gaon has also been received the GI tag certificates. These items are not just cultural treasures but also a source of livelihood for those thousands of artisans. With the GI tag they have now chance to showcase their skills in the international markets. According to the GI expert and the Padma Shri awardee Dr. Rajni Khan, the Kashi region is the world's GI hub with 32 GI tagged products involving nearly 20 lakh people and generating an annual business of 25,000 crore. The new list of the GI certified product also include Bareilly's furniture, Zara Zardozi and the terracotta terracotta work, Mathura's Sanji craft, Bundelkhand's Katia wheat, and the Pilibhit's bamboo flute. Also, these items represent the unique cultural identity of their regions. With the GI certification, they now receive legal protection and enhanced brand value. Additionally, Chitrakoot's woodcraft, Agra stone inlay work, and Jaunpur's Amarthi also have been granted the GI tags. A GI tag not only confirms the authenticity of the product but also helps farmer and artisan get better prices in the market. It also creates new employment opportunities for people. More than 6,700 Sikh pilgrims from India crossed over to the Pakistan Thursday to participate in the Baisakhi festivities and commemorate the Khalsa Sajna Divas. Also, the founding of the Khalsa sect on April 14. As per the Pakistani government, this is the first time in 50 years that so many Indian Sikh pilgrims, more than the double of the usual, were issued visa for the festival. Baisakhi marks the Sikh New Year and commemorates the formation of the Khalsa Panth under the Guru Gobind Singh in the 1699. This would be the 326th of the founding anniversary of the Khalsa, and the ceremony that will be held at the Gurudwara Janam Ashthan Nanakan Sahib. The Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, that is SGPC, said that this time the number of pilgrims is the highest for any festival in the several years. Also, the pilgrims include the resident of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, and 11 other states. The SPGC also have the other Sikh bodies sent pilgrims to Pakistan under the Sirmala Agreement in the 1972 of the 4 occasions of the birth anniversary of the Guru Nanak on that is the November 15 Baisakhi, the martyrdom of the Guru Arjan Dev on the June 16, and the death anniversary of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh on the June 27. Under the Pakistan-India Religious Protocol Agreement 1974, up to 3,000 Sikh pilgrims are permitted to visit Pakistan for any religious festival. However, Pakistan granted 3,751 additional visas at the special request of the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Evacuee Trust Property Board, that is ETPB. The Don quoted ETPB, the Additional Secretary Saifullah Khokhar, as saying. Also, Khokhar is the Pakistan's Minister of the State for the Interfaith Harmony, Kheldas Kohistani, the Punjab Minority Minister, Sardash Ramesh Singh, the Arora of the ETPB Secretary Farid Iqbal welcomed the Sikh pilgrims at the Wagah border checkpost. Also, the pilgrim includes 1,900 individuals from the group coordinated by the SGPC. Its Secretary Pratap Singh said SGPC had submitted 1,900 passports to the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi, which has now issued the required visas. After a very long time, all the visas requests were accepted. Punjab Minority Minister Arora said for the first time in history, the Pakistan government issued visas for all the applications received from the Sikh pilgrims. SGPC President Harjinder Singh Dhami wrote a letter to Saad Waraij, the Chief Commissioner of the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi, expressing his gratitude for generously granting visa to the Sikh pilgrims. Dhami said that such a decision not only respects the religious sentiments but also contributes significantly to strengthening the cultural and communal ties between India and Pakistan. One of the pilgrims said, "My visa request to visit Pakistan was denied twice. I had no hopes this time. I prayed to the Almighty so that I could get a visa. I'm happy very now, and also finally I can go to the Nanak Sahib," also said Harvinder Singh, 57-year-old from Moga. ETPB Secretary Iqbal said the board has ensured comprehensive arrangement from the accommodation and the medical facilities, transport and other services for the pilgrims. Due to the high number, the pilgrims were divided into 2 groups. The first group went to the Gurudwara Panja Sahib in the Hassan Abdal, with the second headed to the Gurudwara Darbar Sahib in the Kartarpur. Both groups will be arriving at the Gurudwara Janam Ashthan Nanak Sahib, the birthplace of the Guru Nanak, on Saturday. On Sunday, they will visit the Gurudwara Sacha Sauda in the Farrukhabad. The main ceremonies of the Baisakhi will be held on the April of 14th at the Gurudwara Janam Ashthan. Also, April 15, one group will travel to the Kartarpur while the other can go to the Gurudwara Panj Sahib. On April 17, both group will pay their respect at the Gurudwara Dera Sahib in the Lahore and will also visit Gurudwara Rohri Sahib in the Aminabad. They will return to India on April 19. Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate and Palestinian organizer, is also eligible to be deported from the United States. An immigration judge ruled on Friday during a contentious hearing at the remote court in the central Louisiana. The decision sides with the Trump administration claim that a short memo written to the Secretary of the State, that is Marco Rubio, which stated that Khalil's current or expected belief statement or associations were counter to the foreign policy interest, and it is sufficient evidence to remove a lawful permanent resident from the United States. The undated memo, the main piece of the evidence submitted by the government, contained no allegation of the criminal conduct. Also, during a tense hearing on Friday afternoon, Khalil's attorney made an array of unsuccessful arguments attempting to both delay a ruling on his eligibility for removal and to terminate proceedings entirely. They argued the broad allegations contained in the Rubio's memo gave them a right to directly cross-examine them. Also, Khalil held prayers beads as the three attorney for the Department of Homeland Security presented arguments for his removal. Judge Jamie Conman ruled that the Rubio's determination was presumptive and sufficient evidence, and that she had no power to rule on the concern over the free speech. There is no indication that Congress contemplated an immigration judge for even the Attorney General overruling the Secretary of State on matters of foreign policy, Conman said. Also, a supporter was in tears, sat on the crowded place benches as the ruling was delivered. Following the ruling, Khalil, who had remained silent throughout the proceeding, requested permission to speak before the court. Addressing the judge directly, he said, "I would like to quote what you said last time, that there's nothing that more important to this court than due process right and fundamental fairness." He continued, "Clearly what we witnessed today, neither of these principles were present today or in this whole process. Also, this is exactly why the Trump administration has sent me to this court 1,000 miles away from my family." Now bringing you latest updates on today's market trends. Global equity markets suffered steep losses today, with the major indices across the North and the South America experiencing a broad-based sell-off amid the heightened investor anxiety. In the United States, the Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted 2,231 points or 5.50%, closing at 38,314.86, while the S&P 500 dropped 5.97 to reach 5,000, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq also tumbled 5.82% to reach 15,500. Also, these sharp declines reflect growing concern over the combination of the factors, including the inflationary pressures, interest rate uncertainty, and potential earning disappointments. The Russell 2000, which tracks the smaller cap companies, was also hit hard, falling to 4.37% to reach 1100. In the stark contrast, the CBOE, the volatility index, that is the VIX, often referred to the fear gauge as also being surging 50.93 to reach 45.31, its highest spike in months. Also signaling a dramatic increase in the market volatility, the risk aversion, the investor appear to be rapidly shifting out of the equity and also into the safer assets or hedging their portfolios in anticipation for the further turbulence. Also, the sell-off extended beyond the United States border. The Canadian market were also deeply in the red, with the S&P TSX, also the composite index, falling to 4.69% and the S&P TSX 60 down to 4.44%, reflecting a widespread retreat from the risk across the sector, including the energy, finance, and the materials. The Latin America market also faced significant pressure. The Brazil Bovespa index sank nearly 2.96%, longing of the 3,800 points, while the Chile's S&P IPSA and the Mexico's S&P BMV IPC dropped 2.79% and 8.87% respectively. Today's market action underscores rising unease among investors who are grappling with the tightening of the fiscal conditions, geopolitical tensions, and the general loss of confidence in the near-term economic stability. Also, with the VIX sharply rising and the key global indices shedding billions in the market value, sentiments have clearly shifted into the defensive mode. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this is a short-term correction or the start of the deeper, more prolonged downturn. Commodity market reflected a day of divergence with a significant movement observed across energy, metal, and agricultural sectors. Energy commodities faced strong headwinds leading to the day's losses. WTI crude oil also declined by 2.15% to settle at $60.66, while the Brent crude oil dropped 2.21% to reach $64.13. These declines come amid persistent concern about showing the global economic activity, reduced fuel demand, and the increasing inventories in the major consuming nations. Also, additionally, the geopolitical tensions and the uncertainty surrounding the OPEC Plus production strategies continue to weigh heavily on the investor sentiment in the energy space. Natural gas followed suit, slipping 1.64% to reach $3.7. Though still with a relatively stable range, it remains vulnerable to seasonal demand shift and fluctuating storage data. In contrast, the metal segment painted a more optimistic picture. Gold advanced 1.10% to reach $3,068, maintaining its strong position near the upper end of the 52-week range. Investors appeared to be rotating into the safe haven asset amid the mounting concern over the inflationary pressures, currency volatility, and the broader macroeconomic instability. Silver posted the strongest gain of the day among the tracked economies, that is jumping 4.57% to reach $30. The sharp rise may reflect increased industrial demand as well as renewed interest from the investors seeking diversification away from equity and fiat currencies. Agricultural commodities also showed resilience, with the soya bean inching up 1.07% to reach $9. The modest rise suggests continued global demand and potential supply constraint due to the weather-related disruption in the key growing regions. The commodity is hovering close to the higher end of its 52-week range, indicating relative strength in the agricultural sector. Overall, today's performance illustrates a clear contrast between the declining energy prices and the upward momentum seen in the metal and the agricultural sector. Market participants appear to be repositioning their portfolios in the anticipation of the economic shift, possibly favoring the hard assets and the essential over the cyclical commodities tied closely to growth and consumption. As volatility continues to define market dynamic, commodities will likely remain the focal point of the both hedging strategies and speculative plays in the day ahead. We'll be right back after a short break. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi. Keep watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
Welcome back after the break. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi. Keep watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for more updates. Log in to stay updated with the latest news on our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Millennium News 24. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Millennium News 24. You can also watch us on Android and iOS devices, as well as on Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and all smart TV platforms. Enjoy entertainment and latest news with us. Download the Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA for Android, and Millennium News on Google. Thank you for being part of Millennium News Channel 24.